This video is going to be about making different size pages in one InDesign document. So let's start by going to New, File. We'll create a document. It doesn't matter what size it is. Uncheck Facing Pages here. And then we'll start with 4 pages. Why not? Our margins are going to be 1/2 of an inch. And then we'll click Create. So when we get into InDesign here, you see our Pages panel. We have 4 pages. We set them to be 8.5 by 11, so they all are 8.5 by 11. But we want to change these to be different sizes. And it doesn't matter what size they are, the process will be the same for each. So you'll notice though, but when we jump from page to page, and you can't tell here, but here the margin size is also consistent. If you change the size of the page, you may want to consider changing the margin as well, and we'll deal with that too. So clicking on page 2, there's a tool over here called the Page tool. So we're clicking on the Page tool, and you'll notice that these handles appear all the way around the document for page 2. So logically, you would think I should be able to just drag this down and it should be able to work, but it is not. So if you wanted to do it that way, you could hold down your Option key and drag down, and now it changes. I'm holding the Option key while I'm dragging using that tool. Okay, and so then now our page 2 measures, well, let's see what it measures. Width of 6.13 by height of 4.97. Now that isn't a size that we would typically want, but by randomly scaling it the way I was doing it, holding the Option tool, that's what I ended up with. So with the Option tool here, let's adjust this and get it to something that's more reasonable and realistic. And so that's what we got there. Double click on that, and you'll actually notice that all of the pages jump to that size. So let's get the tool again, and we're going to select all 4 of these pages and controlled by parent. So that was the original document that we created. Let's turn that off and see if we can get this to go back to where it was. So the Page tool, 8.5 by 11, Command 0. Alright, so there's 8.5 by 11, and you'll notice this page is that 6 by 5, so let's just double check that. 6 by 5, that's correct. If we go to this page, it carried over that scaling that we did, so again, we can just type in a size if we know it. 10 by 3. Okay, and then let's do 2 by 3.5. Okay, so we've got all of these documents that are different sizes now, but you'll also notice that they all have the same margin. So on an 8.5 by 11 document size, a 1/2 inch margin is good. On something like 6 by 5, a margin of 1/2 of an inch might be too much. So how you adjust that is you go to Layout, Margins and Columns, and keep that chain link checked, and you can just hit the down arrow. Let's go to 1/4 of an inch. Click OK, and you'll notice that it adjusts. It's more proportional to the size of the document. So this 10 by 3, I think is what we set it up to be. If we go to layout, margins and columns, this might be 1/4 of an inch as well, or maybe 3/16 of an inch. And same thing with the this 2 by 3.5 inch document. That's tiny, so probably 1/8 of an inch would be plenty. 0.125. Click OK. So now we've adjusted the document size, the margin. You'll notice the bleed stays the same, and that should be consistent regardless of what print size you're working in. 1/8 of an inch is standard for the bleed. And that is how you adjust individual page sizes in InDesign, and then modify the margin space on each of the pages as well.